Welcome everybody to this third session of the webinar series that we started last year from the Geoheritage expert group of Eurogeosurveys, and we have already done two, one at the end of last year, 1 year ago, and another one this last April. This one in April was about geoheritage in relation to geotourism. And today, our webinar will be the relationship between geoheritage and mining environments. We will have two talks. Well, my name is Enrique Díaz. I am going to be giving the second talk. We were expecting another person to be hosting and moderating the session, but she has not been able to make it today. So we will have first Joao Matos from the Geological Survey of Portugal talking to us about the geological heritage trails in the Iberian Pyrite Belt mines. And then afterwards, I will talk about the conservation of geological heritage and mining heritage in post-mining environments. And then afterwards, if you have any questions to any of us or relating with the presentations or anything in relation with the geoheritage and mining environments, we will be glad to respond to your questions. So we will just go ahead and start with the talk of Joao, okay? 25 minutes, you said?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, are you seeing my screen?
Yes. Okay, now we can see the presentation. Good.
Okay. First of all, thank you for Aerogel Survey to present my talk about Iberian Pyrite Belt mines and their specific geological heritage. So my presentation will be sorry. Okay. So in the first approach to geological heritage and after mining heritage concepts and the life cycle of the mines, and of course geology of Iberian Pyrite Belt and mineral deposits, and special case studies on the belt, and finally the trails and routes and how to achieve to information, and final remarks. So general concepts of geological heritage, so geodiversity, geoheritage, and geoconservation, geotourism, and even geoparks apply to mining regions. It's a goal. In the moment, we don't have any geopark in the Iberian Pyrite Belt, but we have some studies on key areas in Portugal and Spain that can be in future projects of this one. So it's looking for the geological heritage in a concept of the mining areas. So what is the mining heritage is totally different. So we can consider that surface mine infrastructures and underground. So underground will be the mine galleries, the shafts, the exploitation chambers, even underground ore mills, water pump facilities, and so on. At surface, we have a more diverse heritage. So we have the open pits, the excavation, the mine shafts. They are typical landscape monuments, and large areas occupied by ore treatment process. So have ore mills, processing plants, metallurgy in some mines, power plants, cementation and evaporation tanks. So it depends of the way that the mine company exploited the deposit. So it's directly linked to the mine history. And in some cases, we have long time mine histories, and we'll see several case studies. And by another hand, we have the urban areas linked to the mine exploitation, mostly office, laboratories, or railway facilities, and others, and the quarters of the old miners. And typically, we have a differentiation between houses from administration, from engineers, from miners. So it's typical from mining areas, both in Portugal and Spain. So another type of heritage is the equipment used to excavate and to exploit the ore, and the equipment used to transport the ore to foreign countries or foreign areas. Archives and documentation are essential to understand how the mine history develops a long time. And in the local communities, we have the intangible heritage. So we have all the ethnographic aspects of the and social aspects of the mine of the mine site, and each site has his own characteristics. So this is only a approach that we can see. So the main shafts are of Lousal, or at, for instance, in Britinto, large areas affected by mine history, especially some areas of the environmental is totally affected by the old mine exploitations, like so we have acid mine drainage, unvegetated areas. So this is common, especially in the old mines. But we must consider the life cycle of the mine, so from exploration to evaluation of the deposits and mining, closure process and rehabilitation. So we have impacts on geological heritage. We can consider initial phase of creation. So we have aspects to geological heritage, especially in the open pits and the mining galleries. But with the evolution of some of the mines, we can have like destruction of some of this geological heritage. So it's a dynamic approach in this concept. So what is the Pyrite Belt? Pyrite Belt is shared by the Alentejo and Andalusia province and north of Algarve. So in the west we have the Portuguese sector. In the eastern we have the Spanish sector. It is located in the South Portuguese zone, a Variscan domain, and the Iberian Pyrite Belt is formed by the Ferrite group in the volcano-cemetery complex of the late Devonian and Carboniferous age. So we are dealing with the southwest domain of the Variscan orogeny, so in the southwest sector of Iberia, and in this concept we have a siliciclastic basement here represented, and a volcano-cemetery complex from a bimodal volcanism. So I have felsic volcanics and basic volcanics and associated sediments in the volcano-cemetery complex. And we have two main ore horizons. So the latest Devonian Industrial age and the Turnesian age for the mineral deposits. This is the stratigraphy. These are the rocks. So we can have like domes, cryptodomes of rhyolites and rhyolithites, related volcanogenic sediments, and in the siliciclastic basement we have phyllites and quartzites and fossils. So I have some fossils in the sediments. So the belt is why it is the European base metal reference province, because we have more than 100 volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits, massive and stockwork mineralizations, and mostly in Spain, where the volcano-cemetery complex outcrops in large areas. But we have other mineralizations like iron manganese oxides, carbonates and silicates, and copper late Variscan veins with copper, lead, barium, and antimony and gold, here indicated in the Portuguese cases. So it is possible to see the VMS deposits at surface in the pits and underground in mining galleries. So it's mostly of the mineralization is formed by pyrite, but we have another sulfides like chalcopyrites, fullerite, galena, arsino, sulfur salts, and sometimes a complex mineralogy in the massive ore. The stockworks can have different aspects. It can be hosted by felsic volcanics, like in the case of San Miguel mines, or black shales in the case of the Neves Corvo mine. So related with the massive sulfides, we have a zonation, endoptimal zonation, and phyllosilicates are differentiated considering the original temperature stages linked with endoptimal fluid circulation in the host rocks and deposition of sulfides in the discharge area. So in mineralization, about mineralization style, we change from replacement of the host rocks and other models like brine pool areas where the fluids are concentrated and we have the deposition of the ore. So primary layering, it's common to see, especially in the massive mineralization. And we can see it in the pits. So here you can have a contact between the mineralization and the felsic, well-cleaved felsic volcanics of San Platón Spanish open pit. And of course, if we have large exploitations like Atalaya open pit in Ritinto western sector, we can see all the sequence. So in the gray color, you have the massive sulfides, the volcanics and affected by different hydrothermal alteration. This greenish color is correspond to the chloritic area of the stockwork zone, and in the southern sector of the pit, you have the flesh, which is a barren unit for the exploration and for exploitation. So the geology of the deposits is different from each case to another case. In Portugal, we have a lot of subvertical deposits. In Spain, we have different scenario, but in all cases, we have a distribution of the massive sulfides and the stockwork mineralization. Stockwork is a network of sulfide veins, and that is our base for our geological heritage in the belt. So it's especially in the massive sulfide mines. We must consider other history after the formation of the deposits. So we have the Variscan deformation and the late Variscan to Alpine deformation. So I have folding, faulting, and in some cases some sourcing and strong deformation of deposit. But we have from Paleogene to present day to have a Paleozoic basement uplift, and in consequence we have erosion and supergene weathering, and so we must consider a Gaussian evolution of the mineralization. So from sulfides to oxides and other minerals. I only have this slide about the other type of mines. I have iron manganese oxides in exploitations, small exploitations, and vein exploitations. The vein exploitation work mostly in the late stage of the 19th century. Small fault zones mineralized with chalcopyrite, quartz, and carbonates, and have a specific outcrop controlled by the fault zone itself. The manganese are different forms, but always small dimension mines. So about the case studies from the dimension here in Portugal, have the São Domingos open pit, where occurs a stockwork zone in felsic volcanic rocks. It's a geosite classified, and it is important also to see some mineralogy, some minerals like goethite occurrence, but the deformation is another theme, and a third zone like this one here between the volcanometallic complex and the philitic quartzitic group are well exposed in the pit. So it's a large pit flooded with acid waters. The open pit present an aesthetic importance also because it's a pure marine landscape that people enjoy and sometimes have difficult to understand. Another site and classified geosite is the Austral Gossans. Here at Algarves, we have a complete Gossan profile and Roman mining associated with the Gossan. But we have also secondary minerals present in one of the mine galleries that we can visit with groups, and there we have a lot of large and diverse mineralogy of oxides, hydroxides, sulfates, and beautiful areas covered with crystals of melanthite. At Austral, in another mine sector, we have one of the deposits affected by the late Variscan Messejana fault. It's a subvertical São João deposit, and here we can see different Gossan with black shales and felsic volcanics in the local setting, different from the Algarves. Another mine is the Losal mine, where we have a diverse geology from the volcanometallic complex and the philitic quartzitic group. The oldest Tibetan age basal unit of the philitic quartzitic group outcrops in the mining area. But the key issue is the diversity of the rocks and the hydrogeological alteration and the water. We have acid water spring in the basement, and that is important also. In the case of Losal, we have the CNCV center, and that is quite important because we work with them in the panel of the pits. So and linked with the process of the mine rehabilitation by the ADM company and the work of the CNCV team. And we have one of the mines of the belt where it is the general public goes and can visit, and even with the underground mine visit at Valdemar Mine Gallery. So it is a total rehabilitation of the mine site from the scientific point of view, from the educational point of view, and this is one of the best case studies in the belt. At Caveira Mine, we have a different setting, a small mine with important Roman mining, and here is mostly the weathering process of the felsic volcanics and the philitics and quartzites of well exposed in a different landscape considered the other Portuguese mines. Finally, the Chansa mine where outcrops important Gossan. And here we have VMS mineralization associated with the railway dome and very nice geological sections with hydrothermal alteration. Another case is from Spain, so the giant Rio Tinto, where it works the Rio Tinto Foundation, and here it's possible to see active mining above, linked with the exploitation of the stockwork of the Cerro Colorado, and it is possible to visit a nearby mine at Peña de Hierro. Here is the zonation of the hydrothermal alteration and the VMS distribution around a large area. Another special area, mining area, is San Miguel, where exists a complete Gaussian profile above rhyolite structure, volcanic structure with massive and stockwork mineralization. This is one of the key geosites of the Spanish sector. Another mines like Tarsis present different geology and large open pits. And in the pits, the safety is not the best. It's not around the pit, yes, and we have trails around the pit, but inside the pit it's very difficult to go. But it's possible to see the interaction between felsic volcanics and the black shales that host the mineralization. So considering the belt, the regional routes are identified between the Portuguese and Spanish partners. LNEG worked with the IGME, Spanish Geological Survey, and with Junta de Andalucía and Austral Municipality in a regional trail projects, the GeoFPE, and in all these mines were defined local circuits to go. So there is a general theme that we can consider the Pirates route in the southwest of Iberia. The border here between the two countries are two rivers, the Guadiana and the Chansa River, but we can cross now, have new bridges that allow people to travel along the province. Have a lot of information from local panels and brochures and mine maps with the key points. So a lot of information is available in each site. And this is a preliminary approach to the classification of the geological heritage and different scenarios. But in the Portuguese case, we must consider São Domingos and Austral and Losal like the most important mines areas to visit. Where to find some information about the geosites in the LNEG geosite database. I just put here the Portuguese examples. The Progeo and Minho University database, the SNF, and the Roteiro de Minas, which is a portal in Portugal focused to the visit of the mine sites of the country. And all these sites has information about the IPB mines. So final remarks, Iberian Pyrite Belt present is a European metal-genetic province, base metal rich deposits, and present in Portugal and Spain, with a remarkable geological heritage. Some of the mines have local interpretation centers that can help the visit and can help the people to understand the complexity of the mine history and the VMS deposit geology and stratigraphy of the local geological setting, and that is important for a visit that must be facilitated to the geotourists. Regional routes are being more and more improved with the links identified between Portugal and Spain, and local circuits are present in a lot of mines. Junta de Andalucía did excellent work in old mines in Spain, and in Portugal, important work is being done in Losal and Austral mines. So future work will be focused on geosite characterization. A regional geoconservation policy must be understood and developed, and considering the mine rehabilitation and the mine sustainable evolution a long time. The valorization of the Iberian Pyrite Belt heritage, the geological, ecological heritage is an important goal for the province, and it can be essential to the development of future geopark projects. In the Guadiana Valley, we will make work on the geosite characterization. Two mines are involved in this project. It is Sonming's mine and Chance mine, but future project, it will depend from the local partners to work on that goal. And thank you for my colleagues Sara Santos and Pedro Gonçalves for the UAV photographs, and thank you for all to understand, to listen the talk.
Thank you very much, Joao. We will open for questions later, so you have done a very good job with the timing. That's excellent. Thank you. So then we will have time for questions. Hopefully, I will be less than an hour. If you can close your sharing the screen, and I will share mine.
So, yeah.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So let me. I will be talking about the conservation of geological heritage and mining heritage in the post-mining environments. So this is the brief summary. I will talk, as Joao did, some basic concepts, the 5 geos that he was mentioning also, and also with regard to these concepts, some conflicts and confusions that usually arise, I will mention briefly, and then most of the time with the examples of geological and mining heritage sites in post-mining areas, and why are they relevant, and then it is important that everybody is aware of this IUCN resolution that was approved just a few years ago, which is about natural diversity and natural heritage in mining environments. So as we all know, the geological and mining elements are an important part of our natural and cultural resources that have been used since the beginning of mankind. That's why we have the names like the Paleolithic, the Neolithic, the Copper, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and all these things. Here you can see some salt mines, some granite quarries. Water is also a geological resource that is in a cycle that is more close to our human scale. But as you all know, geological resources are, most of them are non-renewable. So the use that we make them is without a chance to have to recover what we have been using. So that's part of the characteristics of geological resources. They are non-renewable. Some of them are considered very spectacular and unique and attract us very much. And certain geological elements are of great interest to us, and we respect and admire them. Here you can see some examples with, of course, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. Of course, they have damage. We have geological hazards, but at the same time, it causes a great attraction in the public to be able to understand and to see this activity when it is not a cause of damage. And in this case, we have this gypsum geode. There's very huge geodes, I suppose, you know, of gypsum in Mexico, the Nica crystals in some mines there. Another issue is with respect to to geological heritage of that is movable and non-movable. We will see this in detail. The thing is that some geological elements. We consider them unique, representative, useful for science, education, tourism. This is what we want to make use of from the geological elements that we select, because we want them to be preserved for the future. So that is why we have geoheritage. We have geodiversity, which is this variety of the natural abiotic elements and processes. The geoheritage, which is a selection of those elements and processes that are of particular interest at different levels: local, regional, national, international. We have geoconservation, which is all the actions that we take towards the conservation of those aspects of geodiversity and geoheritage that are most valued. And then when we use them for tourism, we call this geotourism. And there is a specific strategy for management of the geological elements, which is supported by UNESCO since 2015, which is the UNESCO Global Geoparks, which is a way of achieving local socioeconomic development based partly on the presence of geoheritage of international relevance. So I will mention this. Another concept important that we should have clearly assumed is the concept of heritage, the set of elements that to which we assign value. So this is elements with value. And an important thing is that the type of heritage is determined by the type of element. So that's why we have things which are tangible, or knowledge, which is intangible. And then if the tangible thing is of high value, then we will consider it tangible heritage. Then we also have objects and sites, which generates movable and non-movable elements. And depending on what we have, if it is highly valued, then it will be movable geoheritage, or movable heritage, or non-movable heritage. We have buildings and many objects that cannot be moved, or mountains, or forests, or whatever. So that would be non-movable, and then we have movable objects. And then another distinction is important between individual and societal elements, which is the classical division: what is privately owned and what is public. Normally, when we are talking about geoheritage, natural heritage, we are referring to the public ownership. So this would be the general consideration of interest of this value for the society. And so that is where it comes with the other aspect of what is heritage, which is the value, which is always subjective, as you might imagine, because it is a consideration of that we make of objects and of sites, depending if we can make future use of them and consider them of interest for the future, for ourselves and the coming generations. If someone has to do the assessment of the element, it must be the person that is a specialist on that element. And we will consider heritage those elements that have value. And that's why when you see down here this little formula, the E refers to the element, X to the type of the element, and V to the value. So we would have the type of element X. If it has value, then it becomes a heritage of type X. So if it is a geological element with value, then we have geological heritage, okay? It is important to distinguish between natural and cultural heritage. Cultural, including historical heritage, will result from intentional human activity. I mention this because sometimes there has been confusion saying that fossils are cultural heritage, and this is not. This cannot be the case, as you can see here below. A fossil can never be historical or cultural heritage because it is not the result of human activity, and thus it is not a historical or cultural element. And of course, also not all fossils are natural heritage that should be preserved, only those that are assessed by the specialist to be of high value. But there are many, many fossils, for example, pollen that is studied by palynology, or many fossils in limestones that are used in buildings and so on, that they have no significant value. Okay, so this is important aspects to consider with respect to the value and to the differentiation between what is natural and what is cultural, which is shown in this chart. If it is a result of intentional human activity, it will be cultural, which can be tangible or intangible. And if it is not a result of human activity, then we consider it natural. And when we talk about geological heritage, it is a part of the natural heritage. And when we talk about industrial mining heritage, then it would be a type of cultural heritage because it is a result of human activity, of intentional human activity. Okay, so this is why it is important to distinguish between natural and cultural. Also, we are most aware that most mining elements are not usually considered heritage, but some of them are. For example, I show you here on the right, upper right, a mining tailing that is not considered a particular type of heritage. It is just managed, hopefully adequately, for the chances of whatever hazards or risk of pollution or groundwater contamination and so on. But in some cases, there's specific assets, specific elements with high value that should be preserved. So because they are mining elements, they are resulting of human activity for the development of mineral deposits. And if they have value, then they are considered heritage. Here you have an example of the Roman gold mines in northwest Spain. It is a site of cultural interest since 96, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a natural monument because it hosts interesting both minerals and geological heritage and also biological heritage. And then it's a cultural landscape since 2010. And here on the bottom right, you have these Roman quarries near Cartagena in southeast Spain, where you can see how the style of development of quarries and how, thanks to those quarries, we are also able to see the geological heritage in the quarry. The quarry has an interest because it's Roman, it's a part of the mining, the Roman mining. And then we also have a natural heritage, which is geological heritage in the same quarry. So we have both cultural and natural heritage, the Roman development and the geological elements. So this is important, what I mentioned here, that post-mining environments may include natural or cultural heritage that may deserve proper sustainable management for their conservation. Sustainable because if we want to do the public use, we should make sure that it is properly preserved for the future. Here you have another example of a mine. This is a big quarry in Bolivia and near the capital, Sucre, where the part of the mining area has been stopped, and because there was this huge slabs of the limestone with very nice footprints, and this is Cretaceous limestones that were developed for making cement by the National Cement Factory. And notice this is from an article in 2016. Notice in the chart on the top, on the upper part, on the right, that it says that in 2015 there was 172,000 visitors in 1 year for this, just to this quarry, which is called Parque Cretácico, which means the Cretaceous Park, and there's a museum with replicas of the footprints and of the dinosaurs that originated these footprints. And this is still a very important source of income for the area and for the tourism development in the whole region. So it is a big attraction that then leads tourists to go and facilitates that you have a lot of people coming from other countries and from the same country investing in the restaurants, hotels, and shops in the area. So this is how a geological heritage and mining heritage, not in this case, it is mostly just geological heritage, can contribute to the development, socioeconomic development in the areas. Here we have an example of a particular site that may not be so much useful for tourism, which is in this case, this is a limestone quarry in the north of Spain, which that is developed for cement by Cementos Portland Valderribas. This is a big cement company. And in this particular site, it is relevant because it was identified by the International Union of Geological Sciences, one of their commissions, which is the International Commission on Stratigraphy, identified that this is the best site globally for the study of the Coniacian-Santonian boundary. This is part of the Upper Cretaceous global stratigraphy, the chronostratigraphy, and this is a reference site, a global standard stratigraphic site and point, a GSSP, identified by the scientific community. So it is not so much for science, but more, I mean, not so much for tourism, but of course for science and also for education at higher level education. And the IUGS, the International Union for Geological Sciences, here represented by Stan Finney, here in the picture in the middle, and on the right is Angel Garcia Cortez, who's nailing in the golden spike that marks this boundary. And then this is used for visitors in the mine, in this quarry. That is an area that the company is supposed to preserve, and they have signed this document between the regional authorities, the national authorities, the Geological Survey, and the IUGS representatives. To all of them contribute for this site to be preserved for the future. Okay, so this is a site of international relevance, of scientific interest. Here you can see some of the panels that have been set near the outcrop, where you can see, well, they are in Spanish, in Basque, because it's in Navarra, in part of they also speak Basque, and also in English. And you can see how the mines are still being worked, and some of the areas of the mines that are not being used, then they can be visited by students, usually university students. So this is another alternative for tourism. We have also, this is an example from central part of Spain, an area that has very recently, I think it's this year, that it was recognized by UNESCO as one of its global geoparks of the Calatrava volcanoes. That also includes the oldest and biggest mercury mines in the world, which are found in Almaden. It's also a mining park within the geopark, and also Puerto Llano coal mines. So all these are included as part of a geopark. They are all old mines that have been abandoned, but they have been rehabilitated. So the mining heritage and the geological heritage can be used for the local socioeconomic development, and for science, for education, and for tourism. In this case, you can see the itineraries that have been developed in this case of these volcanoes that are from the Pleistocene and that are still well preserved, and in the outcrops that at the same time part of that mine is being worked by the company, by Holcim, then the other part of the quarries can be visited. And so another example that I want to mention of international legislation important for the preservation of the geological and mining heritage is these resolutions from the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Several geological organizations, the Geological Society of Spain in 2008, ProGeo in 2011, and this other Spanish Society for the Protection of Geological and Mining Heritage in 2015, became members of the IUCN. And we have been promoting several resolutions, the first one in 2008 for the conservation of geological heritage. And I want specifically to mention this one, the fifth one in 2020, here below, which is called Conservation of Natural Diversity and Natural Heritage in Mining Environments. This is an international resolution that has been approved by all members of all national members. There's governmental organizations and non-governmental organizations, and this implies a responsibility because those members of IUCN should comply with these resolutions. And I will show you what this particular resolution talks about on the conservation of natural diversity and natural heritage in mining environments. Mentions that mining activity exposes geological heritage, as we all know, of different types of relevance, sometimes national and international relevance, and it gives some examples. Mining activity can generate landscapes of high aesthetic value, in some cases, that can be declared protected landscapes or UNESCO World Heritage Sites, as I mentioned before, some examples. In these surface and underground mining environments, there are geological and biological processes that can contain unique types of mineral, biological species, and which are useful for the study of the origin and evolution of life and the natural diversity in extremophilic environments, such as the ones that Joao Matos just mentioned in his presentation before this. He was mentioning in Rio Tinto and in many of the mines also in São Domingos, Aljustrel, Lousal. There is acidic waters. This generates different types of extremophilic environments that are useful to study the conditions that originated in the early solar system and early Earth. So this is useful for science and for education. And then both underground and surface mining environments are good laboratories for investigating and teaching natural processes. And after the end of mining activities, the restoration of mining environment can lead to irreparable loss of geological, biological, and or cultural heritage that the exploitation had generated. This means that some companies traditionally were forced by legislation to restore to the original situation. And the thing is that there are many examples now we have that the important thing may not always be restoration, but rehabilitation, to make use of the environments, of the biological environments, ecosystems, and habitats, and also, for example, the geological heritage exposed by the mining development, and this can be used, and so for the rehabilitation of the mining environment, not complete restoration to the original situation, because that in that case we may lose a lot of valuable elements and processes that are already functioning and that are of interest in the mining environments. So this is the main idea of this IUCN resolution. So this part that I am showing you here is the main concepts that is based, and then the operational part, as we say, of the resolution in 2020 at its session. Well, it was online because in 2010-20, you know what happened with the pandemics. But the General Assembly of the IUCN called the member states, so that means I think most of the European countries are members of the IUCN, to conserve mining environments, underground and surface, biological and geological, and then to guarantee the natural heritage of these mining environments to be used for biodiversity conservation, to make inventories of this natural and cultural heritage that results from mining, to ensure the authorization of minings and their environmental impact studies, that it includes the requirement for conservation and sustainable use of this heritage, sometimes also mining heritage, as is mentioned below here in the last one, to raise positive awareness and to educate civil society, companies, non-governmental organizations, and public authorities regarding the conservation of the natural and cultural heritage generated in mining environments. So this is some international regulations that we should be using in our case for the preservation of both natural and cultural heritage that has originated in mining environments. For any sustainable conservation, we always need to have good inventories. We need some legislation that facilitates strategic planning, policies, and monitoring and enforcement. We need to have good conservation with all these vulnerability and hazard studies, management planning, restoration and rehabilitation where it is needed, depending. Sometimes we just need to rehabilitate. And then for the public outreach, because this is important that people know what there is there and its relevance. So we need to do educational programs, social and so on, all these things. I show you some more examples here. On the left, upper left, we have another UNESCO Global Geopark in northwest Spain, the central Catalonia, with this Cardona Salt Mountain that organizes tours, touristic tours inside the mines. There's many examples in Poland and in Colombia. I mean, throughout the world, the salt mines are very good opportunities for geotourism. And we also have this other on the upper right in Cabo de Gata, another UNESCO Global Geopark. We have these iron mines in another UNESCO Global Geopark in Sevilla, or this one in Slovenia, the Idrija UNESCO Global Geopark with interpretive trail that uses the channels of the former mercury mines and so on. So there's many possibilities in the mining environments for science, for education, for tourism, and there's already many examples of how this can be used for development, for the local development. So to finalize, we have these conclusions. The mining activity exposes geological heritage, generates habitats and ecosystems that are of interest, and also results in human-induced landforms, landscapes, buildings, equipment, archives, knowledge, and traditions that all of them are worth preserving as cultural heritage, and of course, geological and biological heritage as natural heritage. The sustainable use of natural cultural heritage that results from the evolution of these mining environments is a true potential asset for local socioeconomic development that we should be promoting. And there are currently many practical examples of rehabilitation of these mining environments that can be used towards the conservation and public use for science, education, and tourism. And us, as geological surveys, we can and should provide the knowledge and expertise for the inventory, the sustainable management, and the conservation of geological heritage and of the mining heritage. So that's natural heritage and cultural heritage in mining environments. Okay, so thank you all for your time and questions. And I think we still have some minutes for questions. I don't know, maybe if we have any people that are attending from the participants that I didn't look at the chat, I suppose. That's it. No, we don't have questions in the chat, but if you want to raise your hand and make any comments or questions, Valentina.
Again, just I wish to congratulate both of you. The mining heritage is so important. We don't have examples or enough examples, but we don't have it, only few. But could be a very, very interesting subject to for future proposals.
Yes.
With your experience with and the lack of our models, for example, even we have some mining areas, very interesting by a scientific point of view, because also I think many of countries has something specific with this. Maybe you have to think on this for something about a proposal or something on this. So you gave me a lot of ideas. Let's see if something will be fruitful also for all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, Joao here also can because Joao and myself, we were involved in a specific project from 2010, 2013, I think it was.
Yeah, I see.
It was funded by Atlanterra, yes, about the mining heritage and in the Atlantic part of Europe, Portugal, Spain, France, Ireland, Wales. I think that's it.
And France,
yes.
Not region.
And it was very successful and very useful. And there's European funds available for this type of initiatives to promote the mining
Exactly.
heritage and
Yeah.
geological heritage. Yes, yes.
Has to be also some with mining, including and the stones and the metallurgical ones, and maybe again to use the expertise, your expertise that we already have it, with our potential perimeters, let's say. Yeah. Thank you. We'll contact you for this. Thank you.
Okay, okay, yes.
Geological heritage on mining areas is a strong issue between the connection of the heritage and the local community, because local community are very strong people and understand quite well the mine site evolution a long time, but the link with them to nature and it's very quite important.
Okay, Joao, I was curious because you didn't mention. Maybe people would like to know how many years you have been promoting apart from studying the geology of the mines, but the museums. How many years the trails, and how many people are using it? Because I suppose you have numbers of.
Yeah, I didn't put numbers because numbers are they change a long time and each year. But since with Losal Center, we have an agreement with them, especially about the formation of the guides and turn the geology easy to them. And even the panels were tested and planned with the Life Science Center guides, because in fact they use the panels as a work area each day, but it is above 11,000 people per year.
Every year.
Of course, we have the pandemic
Yes.
effect, but after the pandemic effect, they rise again, and they especially the schools and retired people is the one of the key goals, and also self-visitant tourists. So the information is available and for everybody. An important aspect is the safety. Mining areas typically are unsafe, and we need a maintenance program on that. Last week, the Altstral municipality, and LNEG has a connection with them. They have a new interpretation and center of the mine. So we'll have a second point here in the Portuguese sector of the belt to visit the Altstral mining park.
Yeah, and I was also wanted to mention that one thing we have noticed with when you look around the world, what tourists like most, of course, for example, in the Iberian Pyrite Belt, it's the colors. I mean the
Yes,
presence
the
of
landscape colors.
the landscape. Yes,
Yeah, and
the water.
yes,
and
the
the
acid
colors.
waters and so on, and the long time history. So have a Roman mining, and from 19th century to present date mining history. So that is, but the landscapes is for in our case, Australian Sonnings present large area with mining landscape. Some people love, some people don't like it, but it is important to understand how the environment was affected by the old mine activity, and how we can learn about that related with the future, and how you can rehabilitate the ecosystem. And in the Losal, we have a new area of life project, and the mining area is recovered for the environmental in that sector. So it is interactive process, and with a lot of science between these areas.
Another thing, I suppose everybody that has worked on this is aware, but maybe Valentina, if you want to promote visits in mining areas, one of the things, it is more expensive for the maintenance, but it is always very successful, is to be able to visit the underground galleries,
Yes,
mines, This is
underground
something that
mine galleries.
absolutely people love that it is
Yes.
very successful in I have visited several in of course the
Notice,
salt mines in Poland or Switzerland or the coal mines. When you can go inside, this is very successful with the visits.
notice we are dealing of very particular and specific tourism, and in some cases, the mines like Wieliczka in Poland is inserted in the European touristic market. So everybody who goes to Krakow can visit. One of the options is the salt mine of Wieliczka. So it is important. And in the case of Iberian Pyrite Belt, mining tourism, mining geological tourism can contribute to the reverse situation of the social rehabilitation of the, especially of some old mine areas. In the case of São Domingos, a single fluvial beach in the Clean Waters Dam promote a lot of tourism in the mine areas, and quite important for the local economy.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to emphasize how Joao is representing the Portuguese Geological Survey, who has done a lot of work of inventories, as he was showing, the geology, the geological heritage, and once you have that, then it is possible to promote certain areas. You know where are the best outcrops, the most beautiful ones for the tourists, the with higher touristic value and all these things. And that is after you have a good inventory is when you can do a good management.
Yes, we are in the process of merging of the two inventories from Geo and LNEG. So next year we'll have a single one that will be more easy to promote and to develop geosite characterization in the country.
I don't know if there's any more questions, somebody else? Some people have been well, okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you all. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you, Joao.
It was a
and for all
pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.